Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN. I'm Brian Winnekins, and we are part of the NAFB convention. It's a virtual convention this year, and joining us right now is John Newton. He is Chief Economist for the American Farm Bureau Federation. And thank you to our sponsors, including BASF, Credenz Seeds, the Wisconsin Corn Growers Association, Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley, Brevant Seeds, Matt Carl's your representative, Annabis Silo, and Compeer Financial. And John, thank you for joining us today. Well, the 2020, obviously, from an economic standpoint, no one saw COVID-19 coming.
No one saw that coming. I think folks at the beginning of the year were pretty optimistic when you looked at all the progress we made on the trade front with this administration that it was going to be a better year. And then that light at the end of the tunnel turned out to be a freight train in mid-March. And you think about all the farmers and ranchers across the country that were producing food for the restaurant business or had products going into the school channel, saw their markets virtually shut down overnight. And then we had meat packing plants go down. But we're innovative and we're resilient. And thanks to the administration, thanks to Congress with the 2 COVID relief packages, we bridged the gap, and I think our food supply chain is stronger today than what it was before COVID.
One of the things that I noticed that was interesting, at least when all of this started, now it didn't help dairy. I never saw $3 cheese before, but of course we had that price differential kick in with Class 3 and Class 4, and I think I could probably figure out how a Saturn V rocket works compared to that. But that hurt dairy farmers. But it seems that people are starting to really appreciate farmers, and 2, wanting to do stuff from home. And it's kind of increased demand, like for dairy products and other products on a nationwide basis locally instead of in the restaurant sector, which really has been hit hard.
If you were a dairy farmer selling milk to a cheese plant, you were in fantastic shape throughout this whole process, because you're right, cheese did get to record highs, $3 a pound. We have to remember that a lot of that demand, whether it was for cheese or fluid milk, we put a lot of fluid milk in the Farmers to Food Box program as well. And so, we saw cheese prices hit a high level. Class 1 milk, which is fluid milk, didn't really move at the same pace, neither did Class 4. So we saw record large negative PPDs across the country. And you're right, Saturn V rocket and milk pricing are in the same category in terms of complexity. So farmers were scratching their head, wondering why there's a $5 deduction from a milk check, or $6. Or in California, it was as much as a $10 deduction on the milk check. That's on top of some COVID-19 assessments that some producers were seeing on their milk checks too. So it's a tale of 2, the haves and have-nots on dairy. If you had cheese milk, your outlook on 2020 was a lot better than somebody that was just going into the fluid plant in terms of their farm profitability.
Talking with John Newton this morning. He is Chief Economist with American Farm Bureau Federation. John, 2021, we will have a new administration. What do you expect from that administration, and how could it affect farmers?
Well, we're continuing to work with the current administration. I think they've done a lot of things to help the agricultural community, farmers and ranchers, from a regulatory perspective, from a H-2A labor perspective, and we're also now having a dialogue with the incoming folks, whether it's Secretary Vilsack. He's a leader in agriculture, very well connected. We've been in close communication with him, his team, as well as the transition team, including Robert Bonney and others there. So, and they want to know what the issues are, so that when they turn the lights on over at USDA, they're ready to go and help farmers and ranchers. We want to be at the table with them, sharing our priorities for this next administration, and what agriculture needs to be stronger moving forward.
Talking with John Newton. He is Chief Economist with American Farm Bureau Federation from the NAFB convention. John, trade with the new administration, do you see a 180-degree turn in trade where they're We're not going to be worrying about tariffs. We're not going to try and do bilateral. We're going to try and do multilateral agreements. The possibility of even getting back into the old Trans-Pacific Partnership.
I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I think it's important to see who President-elect Biden taps for key positions in USTR and what their priorities are going to be. Our immediate challenge ahead of us, we've got a 2-year agreement on the phase 1 deal with China. We need to see the record export commitments turn into actual shipments. That's going to certainly help the farm community. We need to have fair access around the world. If we have a level playing field, farmers and ranchers in the United States can compete with anybody. It's when we don't have a level playing field. It's when you have non-tariff barriers to trade. It's when you have barriers that don't recognize sound science that keep us out of a market. That's where we have the big challenges. And I think folks in the agricultural community, folks in the trade community understand that, and that's what we want more than anything. Just let us compete in a level playing field, and we think we can compete with anybody.
Talking with, again, John Linder. He is the chief economist, or John Newton, rather. He's the chief economist with the American Farm Bureau Federation. John, finally, before we let you go, from an economic standpoint, how important will sustainability continue to be for farmers?
Well, I think, the consumers are telling us right now how important environmental sustainability, social sustainability is. And they're telling us with their pocketbooks, and the investment community is telling us the same thing. Look, we're at the front lines. We know how to protect the water, protect the soil, protect the air. We know that we need more resources, more financial and technical resources. We need access to broadband around the country so that we can take the cutting edge climate smart technology that's being developed and deployed back to our farms so that we can implement that, so that we can be even better stewards of the land. But what we need, and consumers, our supply chain partners need to recognize that takes an upfront investment. It needs to be economically sustainable as well as environmentally sustainable. So whether that's additional financial and technical resources through the Farm Bill, whether that's some sort of carbon market that we can capture as a revenue stream, whether that's upfront investments in technology, whether that's carbon tax credits, and importantly, it needs to be voluntary. But we do have a role to play in capturing carbon in the soil and helping address our climate issues. Our board of directors was in support of us taking a big step in this direction and being at the table, at the front lines to help folks understand that ag is part of the solution.
John, again, we appreciate you joining us today. John Newton, he is the chief economist for the American Farm Bureau Federation, chatting with John during the NAFB convention. You're listening to WRDN.